This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Forget the frustration of picking commerce platforms when you switch your business to Shopify, the global commerce platform that supercharges your selling wherever you sell. With Shopify, you'll harness the same intuitive features, trusted apps, and powerful analytics used by the world's leading brands. Sign up today for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/tech, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/tech.
So what you're about to listen to was part of my recording with Ronnie Jr. from the Randomly Ronnie Jr. YouTube show. This was from our Queer as Folk recap of episode 8. So if you don't know, I'm always recapping an episode of Queer as Folk, the American version from 2001. So Ronnie was my special co-host. I always bring on a really exciting and fun co-host to join me. But we, of course, are obsessed with the Real Housewives. So I call this the Queer as Folk meets the Real Housewives conversation. So if you're a Real Housewives and Queer as Folk fan, you're going to absolutely love this. If you're just a Real Housewives fan, you're going to learn a lot about who we think, you know, really did well on the Housewives and maybe who missed the mark a little. And of course, we gush over our love of Ebony K. Williams and just how wonderful she is at being a mentor in the media space. So I hope you enjoy this conversation. And Ronnie just asked me this question about would I support a controversial LGBTQ public figure? So I give the example of Todrick Hall, and this is where the conversation picks back up. I hope you enjoy it, everyone. You asked about if a queer person stepped out of line. I guess one example in my mind someone who comes to my mind is Todrick Hall. And
that's a great example. Yeah.
And I really like his music. I like his individuality, his artistic expression. And I never really understood why people were really like, they're like, he's a villain on Big Brother. And I'm thinking he's on reality TV, like, playing a game. I mean, you think that we have to be genuine on Big Brother, but again, was that because he's an easy target because he is a queer Black man? Were people as outraged when Richard Hatch on Survivor was the villain? I mean, actually, he is gay too, but were people as outraged when I'm just trying to think of an example. Were they outraged?
Well, you said I think we talked earlier, Jax Taylor, wonderful villain-esque reality star, but and people are mad for sure, but it is sometimes like certain situations get judged way harsher. He's such a wonderful example. I remember seeing his show, like Straight Out of Oz, I think it was called, and it was fantastic.
Oh yeah, that album's incredible.
He is right, isn't it? Actually, really good. He's so talented, but he definitely does jump out the window sometimes. And so you're put in a situation where you're like, do you hold like this blind support because you're like, oh, this is somebody within the community, or should you be like, no, he needs to be very much held accountable. I don't know. I feel like sometimes I think there is room for the nuance, for sure. We keep talking about nuance, but the grace. I feel like sometimes when you look at the big picture and you're like, oh, this person misstepped, but it's like, damn, I mean, there's enough challenges. Do I need to pile on? And you're right. The public mob mentality is so difficult. Like, well, I don't even know why people weigh in on things all the time. Get a life.
I mean, like I always say, when you decide, right, like yourself, Ronnie, when you decide to become public, like I'm a public figure, my social media is public. I posted a video that now is like our top trending video on TikTok of over 400,000 views, and it's Lisa Rinna. It's Lisa Rinna, and I talk about her being on Tapeworm in American Horror Stories, and like just showing that clip, and people, the majority are so happy, like excited for her. But of course, there's some people who say, I can't believe none of you knew she was an actress. And I'm like, okay, whatever. But I also think that some people, they put too much stock in social media, and they 1,000%. Really think that their voice needs to be amplified and they need to
Mhm.
critique. Um, but I will even say with this is going to be, I'll, you know, say that what happened with Ramona not being allowed at BravoCon, I do have a question, which is, um, are you allowed to ever spell out a racial slur, or are you going to be canceled?
Um, I probably would not want to even be in a
Yeah.
situation to ever get into that space. But if you're talking about just like the cancellation process, I think for her, she gets the opposite of the grace, and probably rightfully so, is that she's misstepped 10,000 times. So at
Well,
some
that's
point,
true.
even if it's been an overcorrecting by the network or whatever the case, like she's had a lot of chances. Is she a great character? Sure, but I mean, I don't know. The whole situation is a lot, but I just feel like yes, people. I wish they could utilize social media a little more, not up to the minute, because the problem is everyone's up to the minute and they're not getting the full information. They're not getting the backstory,
Mm.
and they're trying to. I don't know. It's just I'm somebody who started working in broadcast in 2002, and I just still bask in those times. Like, even though there were some different and more difficult issues with what is the term people use, gatekeepers, like would there be as many like great wonderful queer podcasts, now we have the ownership to do what we want to do. But sometimes I miss the old school way with the gatekeepers, because it was kind of special, where everyone who made an opinion sort of was in the business. They put blood, sweat, and tears into the business. They studied it, or they honed their craft. Now it's like anybody is making an opinion, and some of them are doing it on the basis to go viral, and some of it ruins people's lives in a way. So it's kind of
Yeah.
a lot going
Well,
on.
and this is what I want to say. Like, you know, I don't think racial slurs are right or ever appropriate. But like with Ramona, why are people, I'm going to say it, like this is a hot take, Ronnie. Why
Uh-oh.
are they
Let me
why are
turn my
they
camera off.
surprised? Like why are people saying I can't believe Ramona did that? Or
Oh,
like
right.
what I don't like is that they gaslight Ebony. Like Ebony told us all this.
Yeah.
Like hello, you didn't listen to Ebony because she's a black woman. Like
Yeah.
point blank. Like, first of all, why is it that, and this is where I agree with Ebony, why is it that Bethany had to amplify Nene Leakes when Nene Leakes was saying all the issues for years?
Well, I'm no fan of Nene Leakes' performance on the show. I never thought she was actually that talented. Kenya Moore showed her up immediately. The show didn't start till season 5, but that is neither here nor there. But yes, those issues. Remember how we were talking about grace a second ago? Those are the issues that I do 1000% have grace for, because it's like, that is a lot to go up against, in terms of, yes, do I think, like, would I have ever casted Nene Leakes? Has she ever made me laugh? Never, not once. But at the same time, when you feel like your voice is not being heard, like that is a rough one. So when Ebony in that article, she used some strong language to convey Bethany's not going to be the one to, put my opinion out there. And it's always like such a big reaction, but it's like, well, were you listening to Ebony to begin with? Is
Well, first of
really
all,
what
Bethany
gets.
has said the same thing about people. She's like, Andy's not going to be the one who talks for me. I mean, Bethany does the same thing that Ebony's doing.
Mm,
Like,
yeah.
how many times have we heard Bethany say, you know, current housewives are not going to speak for me? I mean, we should never have someone speak for us. Like that's
Yeah.
where I agree. Like Ebony is saying, no one should speak for you. Like your honesty and your voice should be your voice and your narrative. But I will say this. Um, thank goodness Ebony's voice is being heard because people are seeing, oh, Ramona, if anything, um, the season that Ebony was on with New York, it really showed that the viewers, a lot of them were uncomfortable seeing the housewives that they loved called out for not having racial awareness
Mhm.
and listening to Ebony's points. So
Yeah, I
I
don't think
think,
Ebony had an off season. I think she showed up. Like I had
Yeah.
watched her, of course, a couple interviews that she would do when she was with her initial book. Would be on the Breakfast Club. She
Mhm.
did the show with Joe Budden on Diddy's Revolt Network. And then 100 years ago, she did Black Hollywood Live, which was the sister network to AfterBuzz, which is where I was at. So I, of course, knew of who she was, but I never necessarily knew all of her work. She showed up that season. I feel like when it's all said and done, her tagline said it all. I have to do 2 times as much to get half as much. Like she
Mhm.
said it in the tagline, and every element that we're seeing still verifies that. Like that she stated it, and then now we continue to see it. So to her, like I feel like, I hope like people really reach out and support her, because while it's weird with Ebony, because no one really, because she's such a winner and like rebounded really wonderfully with the show and on Byron Allen's network, there's almost kind of like a, oh, she's fine, but she's fine on the basis of what she did. In terms of the way she was like treated in that situation, it's still, there's where's the apology?
Well,
I don't
that's
know
the
who.
thing is,
Yeah.
um, Luann kind of implied that, um, like so many of the women implied that Ebony brought them down, and it's like, where's the apology, Luann, for you, you know, gaslighting Ebony? Like, where's the
I
apology, Ramona? Where's they just can't take accountability. I just don't understand. And a lot of that is because they never had a reunion. And I
well,
agree. I think that was one of the worst decisions.
worst decision. This is why I said I like the new era of Real Housewives of New York, Roni, because there's different ways to create compelling content. That season, I just don't feel like you should put it all on Ebony. There was so many different elements. You lost Bethany. Well, I guess that was the year before, but you lost a
But they
superstar,
lost Dorinda.
and they lost Dorinda. You lost these really strong, successful characters to the equation of the show.
I think
But
Dorinda
also,
would have been really interesting with
yeah,
Ebony.
pandemic, the options to film vibrant New York weren't really there, and then the world was being looked at a little bit differently during that time. So I don't know how you blame one character for creating that. Yeah, maybe that, like I said, seeing her career slowly grow, maybe there's a little bit of a bias, but I had no expectations when Ebony did the show. But let me tell you, watching that season, I was like, she showed up. Like she didn't do extra, in my opinion. She
Yeah.
wasn't extra, but she really
Oh,
got looked at negatively.
yeah. And I think that what's wonderful is when Ebony was on here, she said how much Sonia showed up for her, and Sonia continues
Oh,
to reach out to her. So, like, there is a, I still think what would be a, I think the fans would love to see, I know I would love to see if Ebony, I think it would be great if Ebony and Leah had a discussion. So, I wouldn't discount that. I think that there could be some
that means we'd have to listen
discussion.
to Leah. We'd have to listen to Leah talk. Oh gosh.
Her podcast is actually good, Ronnie. I like her podcast.
Oh God, I was one when she had that amazing first season. I was like, no, this can't be. This can't be. You
But
guys can't.
she's a very, um, I think Leah's very insightful when it comes to like the culture she absorbs. But again, just not everyone is meant for, being on reality TV. And like
Well, I
I
thought
question how I would be on reality TV.
true, true, true. Well, I thought I heard through the podcast rumblings. You would know. I thought I heard that there was even a look for Rachel Yucatel to get that position that Leah eventually got. Rachel Yucatel should have got Real Housewives of New York. And my other casting choice, I just got to say it since we're talking about Real Housewives of New York casting. I've always thought the city's Olivia Palermo would make such a good Real Housewives of New York character. That is my 2 cents.
Yeah. I mean, I still am pitching for Ebony to be in the new Roni, like the next season. I think could be really interesting.
How about
Um,
her own show? How about I don't want to use because the show already ran, a new version, name it something differently, name it Uptown Girls or something like that. Which is one of the things I actually loved about Ebony's season 13, because like the Harlem Candle Company, like I actually would purchase stuff from the Harlem Candle Company at the Sugar Hill Marketplace because I lived up there for so many years, for about 4 years. So a lot of what we were seeing that she was showing the ladies was like very much what I was already familiar with. So anyways, a Blood, Sweat and Tears, Uptown Girls, kind of successful women like just rocking out Harlem, I think would be the show. That's what I would like to see.
I think we would need white collar women. Like if we had white collar professions, which the housewives are not. They're not, most of them are not white collar professionals. Like Ebony's a lawyer. I think I was even saying to Ebony, we needed her with a professor. We needed her with like a CEO. Like I think I agree. I think if we had like the upper echelon of women, it's not financial, but education wise, who match Ebony, that would be compelling TV, in my opinion. Like her and Dr. Asefo, like having more of, I'm trying to think from other casts, but Beverly Hills doesn't really, in my opinion, have that kind of education caliber. But I mean, even Dorit could actually be interesting with her background. Again, I think you're right. I think Ebony needs something outside of Bravo, and I'm sure she's working on it. So, okay. On that note, this is great. A good Queer as Folk meets reality TV discussion, Ronnie. So how can everyone follow you? How can they listen to you? All of those things.
Yeah, most everything is located centrally through randomlyronniejr.com. If you're on Patreon, do the keyword randomly Ronnie Jr. If you're on YouTube, the keyword randomly Ronnie Jr.